Hello, everybody. This is office hour number 3. I am so excited to be here with you. Sorry, I am like 2 minutes late. Hi, Renee. So I used to use this app. If any of you guys are alumni, I used to use this app called Be Live TV. And it was the greatest app. It was an application that worked with Facebook. And I could put your questions on the screen when I was talking to you, and then answer them as we went along. And because Facebook changed privacy laws, I can still use that application, but I can't see any of your names on the side. So I can't see who's asking the question. I can't address you by name. So I stopped using it, and it's a kind of a bummer. But I went to try to use it tonight. I thought, well, I'll check and see if things have changed, but they haven't. So anyway, so good to see you guys who are joining on. Penny, Mary Jo, Michelle, Linda, Kathy, Sarah, everybody who's joining on, Mary, Darlene, Penny, Karen, all of you guys who are coming live, Sarah, Lauren, I'm seeing more and more names. I'm so glad you guys can join. Real quickly before we get into Module 3, because there is so much to talk about. But I want to tell you, last week, I don't know if you saw last week's module, but I asked a question of, are these evenings good for you, or would you guys mind if I did a lunch hour someday? I'm always trying to do the end of the week because I want to give you time to get at least partially through the module. So I would never do a Monday or Tuesday, but maybe a Wednesday or Thursday. I'm trying to do a Thursday. So next week is a crazy week for me. I'm still going to come in the evening, but the week of Valentine's Day, Thursday is Valentine's Day. Wednesday is the 13th. So I think I was looking at one of those days during the day. Give me a little heads up how that would work for you. But hi, Amanda. Hi, Ann. Hi, Kimberly. Hi, Jean. Hi, all of you who are joining. This is great. And of course, obviously you guys are listening right now, but for any of you who ever miss an hour, you can always go back and watch them. They are here in the Facebook group, so you can always see them. And then the other thing I wanted to mention was a couple people today said they couldn't get into the whole body reset, so there was some updates with the website. The company that hosts the website, they're called Course Cats. They're actually course software for courses. They didn't update, and so some people had to reset their password. I had to reset my password, which is no big deal. You just say lost your password, and it'll give you a link. Okay, we're ready to go, everybody. All right, you guys are great. Let's do this. By the way, it's negative 23 in Minneapolis. Like, this is ridiculous. This is truly ridiculous. And tomorrow, it's supposed to get up to the 20s, and then Saturday is supposed to get up to the 40s, which is like a 60-degree swing. So it's super crazy. So I hope you guys are staying warm. And a couple of you guys are saying that you could do some days. I'm never going to be able to please everybody. It's hard. But these are always here for replay. So let's get into Module 3. Okay, you guys, food is huge. We spend 3 weeks on food because it is such a big subject. Food rules our lives. Food is like the biggest health decision you make every single day. And we're going to talk about the fact that we're not talking about like giving up all of your fun. We're not talking about never eating sugar or French fries again. We're not talking about never having a beer or enjoying a drink or, birthday cake or whatever. We're not talking about that. I don't know about you, but by the time I turn 50, it's like, I'm not giving up all that stuff. That's crazy. But we're going to talk about the 80-20 rule. We're going to talk about how food rules us emotionally. We're going to talk about making healthy choices for the most part during the week, so that therefore when we do not eat perfectly, we don't feel any guilt. We're going to talk about not dieting. Dieting is one of the number one reasons people gain weight. Did you know that? One of the number one reason people gain weight is because diets are so restrictive and deprivation. There's so much deprivation, and then you become depressed, and then you go off the deep end and you gain weight. Yo-yo dieting, we're going to talk about that. There was a great video that I put in module, I think it was lesson 5. So we're going to get all into it. So you guys, let's hit all the lessons. I have a lot to talk about. I do want to say, I love you guys. You're awesome. Okay, Mary Jo, I'm rocking this turtleneck, but I'm laughing my butt off right now because whenever I come live, you guys, I'm having like a major hot flash right now. And right before I came live, I was like, why am I wearing a cashmere turtleneck? That's freaking crazy. Whenever I go live, I just get so hot because I get so excited. I want to talk to you guys. So if I start having beads of sweat dripping down my face, and I can't take this thing off because all I have is a bra underneath here. So what the heck? Ugh. All right. Mindset is where it all began. So I want you to know, I hope you finished those modules. I loved your vision boards. We talked a lot about automatic negative thoughts last week. We talked about not letting our mind overtake our life. We talked about positive thinking. We talked about the law of attraction, even though you can't just wish you won the lottery, but positive thinking leads to a lot of positive things in life. I read the best article this week, and I just want to tell you guys about it. And if you get online and look in, it was in the New York, was it the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal? Let me quickly look because I don't want to send you to the wrong place. It was in, hold on, because I pulled it up on my phone, New York Times. It was the New York Times. And it was called The Joy of Being a Woman in Her 70s. And it's really an interesting article because it talks about how so much pain and so much bliss can be at the same time. And some of you in this group, maybe I've talked to you offline about some of the things you're going through personally that maybe cause some of your mindset issues. Believe me, I'm not without those problems. I have some personal things going on actually right now in my life that are challenging. I feel like when you get older, you get wiser and you have, and you just, your life is bigger. You have more people that you're interacting with and that you're taking care of. And so there is some pain in life. There is, but there's also a ton of bliss because you become so much smarter and you love things for the beauty of what they are. And you start to respect your body more and you care less about looking a certain way that the media tells you to and loving who you are. So there's a lot of really good stuff there. So this article was super interesting. It was in the New York Times. Take a peek at it. It made me very happy. All right. So we've talked about mindset. If anyone has any questions about mindset, I'm just kind of looking. Please feel free to go back and talk about it. But let's just quickly start what we've got to talk about because there's a lot. 3 modules of food, you guys. There's so much to cover. But I am a journalist at heart. I have a journalism degree. And I always loved communicating, writing, talking. You guys know I love to talk. I'm an education freak. I've spent the last 30 years taking classes and courses and everything to educate myself as a health coach, in nutrition, in mindset, in all of this stuff. And food is super complicated. And when people say to me, I don't care, I don't want to learn about food, I don't really care, just tell me what to eat. I'm always like, no, you're not the right person. We shouldn't work together. Because if you don't care about understanding food, you will never be able to conquer some of the issues that food bring. And food is like supposed to be wonderful. Carol, yay, you got on. Yep, see, you reset your password, didn't you? Good girl. Food is supposed to be like celebratory. I mean, Thanksgiving was like all started in this country as a time of celebration for our country. We get together and we celebrate monumental things in our lives with food. There's so many good reasons about it, but the problem is food has taken a hold on us in America. We have, and I know we have a couple people from other countries going through the course right now, but it's always interesting to hear your perspective because in America, we have too much food. We have people who are eating too many calories and they're malnourished, meaning they're eating crappy food, but they don't have nutrients in their body, so they're having health issues. It just came out in the news a couple weeks ago, or like a month ago, that it is now an average cost of going to a doctor nowadays is $500 per doctor's visit. It's expensive to be sick. It's really expensive to be sick. So when people say, I can't afford good food, or I don't have the time to learn about food, it's kind of a cop-out. I mean, I know that's kind of a harsh reality, but it kind of is a cop-out because if you don't want to understand what you're putting in your mouth, it's the biggest health decision you make on your own every single day. And we have so much food in this country, it's important that you understand it. So that being said, let's start with Module 3, Lesson 1. Like I said, you guys, I take notes so that I can keep us on track. I'm going to get back. I open the whole body reset, by the way, on my phone every time we're together so I can see the extra added bonus videos that I want to remind you to make sure you're watching. Okay, we started with intuitive eating. So like I said, right now, everybody here, I want you to ditch dieting. Dieting doesn't work. I mean, even right now, I know it's really popular to be keto or paleo or doing the Whole 30, and there's nothing wrong with those diets. besides the fact that they eliminate a food group. And I just don't like that concept because you're missing a bunch of nutrients. Next week, when we talk about macronutrients versus micronutrients, that will start to make sense to you. And I'm not one that loves to eat fat all day. I don't feel that great. Like, I love carbs. I love fruits and veggies. I love beans and legumes. I love, I eat some grains and some dairy, not lots, but I don't want anyone to tell me I can't have them. So I want to get off the whole diet mentality. If you have food allergies or sensitivities, someone mentioned celiac, then of course you're going to be careful about, eating certain foods. If you have a nut allergy, you're not going to eat nuts. I mean, that's just the way it is. So those things you guys have to own up to and know on your own. But we're going to ditch dieting and we're going to talk about intuitive eating. So intuitive eating, there's 10 principles. We talked about it in lesson 1, rejecting the diet mentality, honoring your hunger. And I really want to get into the hunger scale. So if you guys watched the extra video that was from Eve, and I can't pronounce her last name because it's some crazy last name, Lahijani. But anyway, Eve, it's just a 10-minute little short video about a hunger scale. And she talks a lot about getting in touch with being hungry, because most of us don't eat because of hunger. We eat because we see food. Our eyes, we're going to talk about that too, that our eyes are the cause of a lot of eating, because when we see food, we become hungry. But if you could go with that 0 to 10, where 0 is you are painfully starving, you are so hungry, you would eat anything to survive. And 10 is that I'm painfully stuffed, I really can't put another piece of food in my mouth. You want to be somewhere in the middle. You want to start eating at around 3 or 4, where you're not dying, but you're hungry. And you want to stop eating at like 6 or 7, where it's like, I'm starting to get full, but I don't feel uncomfortable. And if you start applying that every day when you eat, so everybody, let's agree, let's do a quick handshake. No more dieting. We're going to start doing things like hunger scale thinking. That will make a difference. And if you can stay somewhere between that 3 and that 7 every day, it's going to be super, super helpful. Rachel says 80-20 rule. I don't know how to truly apply this. Hard for an auditor not to be literal. I love it. Okay, Rachel, we're going to get it, or Rochelle, we're going to get into that. Karen, do I take calcium supplements because I don't eat much dairy? No, because guess what? Veggies are full of calcium. So I eat tons of veggies. And the other thing is I do tons of bone building. I lift weights 3 to 4 times a week. So I have my bone mass is off the scale. I've taken a test for bone density, but if your bones are weak, then you need calcium. All right, so back to our intuitive eating, making peace with food, not using food as our frenemy, our friend or our enemy. Back to what Brene Brown said, when you're feeling sad about something, so you grab a banana nut muffin and a beer to ease your pain. Food won't ease your pain. It will in the very short term. But really making peace with food, not feeling like birthday cake is sinful, because it's not. Respecting your fullness. We just talked about that with the hunger scale. Discovering the satisfaction of food. Like slowing down. That's something that I work on, is eating slower, because sometimes I'm always in such a hurry that I wolf it down. And then I'm like, I didn't even enjoy that. And there were so many flavors and things that I loved in that particular meal. Honoring your feelings without using food. We were just talking about that. I'm just going to answer a few questions here. Are all the resources in the bonus section the same as original content? Not sure what you mean, Mary Jo, but my videos are your lessons. And then the bonus section is like enhancement. It's like what I taught you. This is above and beyond, like a little more depth, or it's another expert giving you another way to look at something. And I think it really makes a big difference. So yeah, you say, I don't want to miss anything, and just wondered if that content is updated each time. Oh no, I haven't updated it. There was one thing I went in and updated. I'll have to look. It's not in this module. But if something comes along and I'm like, oh my God, that needs to be in the whole body reset, I've added it. I will let you know in those cases, Mary Jo. But I spent so much time, this course took me over a year to put together, combing all of the experts that I enjoy and know and love and trust, and combing all these videos and stuff to really find the best stuff for you, so that you didn't have to sit there spending hours on YouTube wondering what would be a good thing to listen to. So I want you to start thinking about food in these contexts. And then I want you every day just to think like, I'm going to be better today than I was yesterday. No more guilt. No more being like, oh my God, I'm so horrible. I had a great weekend and I overate. And so now I'm just, screw it. I'm going to go the other direction. Like no all or nothing thinking. Back to the 80-20 rule. We're about to hit that, Rochelle. But so the 80-20 rule, by the way, my puppy Roxy is sitting right here. I gave her the world's best bone in the world, and she's already rejected. How did you reject that bone? Where did you put it? Oh, for heaven, I might have to pull her up on my lap here soon, but I'll keep petting her. So, okay, where was I? Oh my gosh, I just lost my train of thought. What is wrong with me? Well, we were talking about rejecting the diet mentality. Oh, 80-20. So you kind of flip it around, and 80% of your food choices are going to be good food choices. 80% of the things that you do on your health journey are going to be healthful, supporting your health. Whereas 20% can be your wiggle room. So that if you do, eat some pizza on Friday night, that you don't completely treat that as like, well, I'm so bad or I screwed up, so now I'm going to go the opposite direction. I'm going to eat the whole pizza, or I'm going to eat pizza again tomorrow, or I'm going to, where you have that type of thinking where it's like, hey, that was in my 20%. It's no big deal. Because quite frankly, you don't gain 10 pounds because you ate a pizza late night one night. You gain 10 pounds because you ate a pizza late night 100 nights. It doesn't happen because you just missed one workout. It happens because you stop exercising altogether. So it's that whole like moderation concept. Okay. Jill, you're funny. If you guys could have seen me last week, and I'm just going to get this out there. So my son plays hockey for the Wisconsin Badgers. It's super, super stressful all the time. And we were playing here in Minnesota. And so on Saturday night, I was drinking a tequila and eating French fries. And I was like, holy cow, if my whole body resets, if anyone walks up to me, they're going to go, Chris, what are you doing? And I'm going to tell you right now, that was in my 20%. Now, I'm not trying to lose weight right now. So yeah, on a Friday or Saturday night, if I do that, so what? Because the next day I'm back on it. I'm meal prepping. I'm eating my veggies. I'm back on my fruit. You just have to get rid of that total, guilt mentality. Okay, let's see. Who said, is 20% like 2 meals or snacks or cookies? Well, 20%, Linda, is like over the course of the week. It can be, you can look at it in a bunch of ways. You can look at it in the day, 80-20 throughout the day. Then you can look 80-20 throughout the week, and then you can go 80-20 throughout the month. So it's a concept, a broad brush concept that I know, who was it that said they're an auditor? I got to go back and see. Oh my gosh. Oh, Rochelle. Yeah. So it might be a little hard for you at first to accept that it's not a completely literal. That's Roxy in the background, by the way, you guys. But it's just getting in touch with being like, okay, everything, it does not have to be perfect, but if you're 80% of the time doing the right thing, you're going to feel good about yourself, and you're going to move that needle towards feeling more healthy, changing your health numbers, losing weight, whatever it might be. Those are going to be your byproducts, because remember, we have our deep whys that we're working towards. I don't know why you are having trouble, Mary Jo, because most people say they aren't, and I'm not seeing any buffering here either, so I'm really sorry. And Peggy said, let's see, Penny, mine cut out. All right, well, let me know if you guys are having trouble, but I'm just going to keep going here. So we're going to embrace that hunger scale. The first lesson is all about that. So if you haven't hit that yet, please do. Eve talks about no judgment, no guilt, tasting your food, savoring your food, not using it as punishment, giving yourself freedom to enjoy food, entertain with food. I think that is really, really important. In module, or in lesson 1, there's also some information about the intuitive eating book by Evelyn Treble. And if you liked this whole concept of intuitive eating, you might like that whole book. You can get it on Amazon or Audible if you were to be interested in it. Okay, so I wanted to hit that. There was a book that I also recommended called Fighting the Food Giants. Again, this is just extra reading if you want it, but Paul Stitt is a man who I followed over the last couple decades. He started Manitowoc Ovens Foods until he sold it, but he was a gentleman who was really hoping and pushing for real food in schools and cutting out a lot of the bad stuff. And he did a study in Wisconsin with high school students. I think it was high school. For sure it was high school. It could have been middle school too, where they changed the meal plan, the lunch plan. And over the course of like literally just 1 month, behavior changed, detentions went down, grades went up, like all this crazy stuff because of food. So when people say, oh, food doesn't affect my kid, it does. Look at how food affects us. So it does. Okay, let's get into lesson 2, which is, okay, now we're gonna get into the 2 cues when it comes to food. So till we get into the nitty gritties next week about like what is food, we're gonna talk about the cues. Quality, quantity, and quality. And the first one we're going to talk about is quantity, because that's a pretty easy one to wrap our head around. Mary Jo, let me know if it's getting better on your laptop. Jill loves the 80-20. Good. It's clicking with you. Yes. Sometimes it just takes a little time for that to happen. But when we talk about quantity of food, the bottom line is in America, we're eating too much. Period. We have gotten into the whole bigger is better mentality. It's kind of like in, Texas, when they say everything's bigger and better in Texas. If you talk to any foreigners in our country, they will say, oh my God, you Americans, you have big houses, big cars, big food, big everything. And for some reason, media has helped us think that if something is bigger, it's better. So when you go to a restaurant, believe me, I fall prey too. When you see a bigger portion, you think, ooh, getting my money's worth. It's bigger. When somebody brings you out something that's small, you're like, oh, that's so small, right? We have to get away from that mentality, because like you go to France and the portions are smaller, but the food is so tasty and it's so quality. And we want to get back into really tasting our food and slowing down. So when you talk about portions versus servings, okay, a portion is what you feed yourself. It's what you decide to feed yourself. A serving is something that's on a food label. So it's a recommended amount of food to eat from the FDA. So they might tell you a half cup of cereal is a serving, but your portion might be 2 cups. You might go like this in the bowl and you pour 2 cups. So you're really eating 4 servings. And we have to get in touch with that, because a lot of us will look at something, oh, it's 100 calories, no problem. But you're really eating 400 calories because you're pouring quadruple into the bowl than what it is. So you really have to think about some of that stuff. Some of the tricks that I've used personally is, first of all, when you go to a restaurant, food is way oversized. So never expect that that's the right portion you should eat. It's clearly overeating. Split something at a restaurant, like split it with your friend. A lot of times my husband and I, there's a steak place we love to go to, but it's just so much food. By the time you get the salad and the veggies and the potatoes and the steak, it's humongous. We always split it, and it's more than enough. But at home, use smaller plates. Eat on your luncheon plates, not your dinner plates or the side plate. Plate your food onto your plate. Don't just eat out of a bag or eat out of a big container. You're definitely going to overeat because your eyes cannot figure out what that serving or portion should be. Don't drink too many calories. Like if you're drinking sweetened iced tea and sweetened this and sweetened that and a coffee drink with sugar in it and creamer, and all of a sudden you drank 700 calories in that day. And this is the truth. I've worked with so many clients, especially back when I used to work with people one-on-one. I could literally name 10 clients like that lost 10 pounds super quickly because they gave up liquid calories. They gave up the Coke and the soda pop. They gave up the creamers and sweetened things in their coffees. They gave up the and diet soda, because diet fake sugars do weird things in your body and make you hungrier. And people don't lose weight because they're drinking diet soda. So you're really much better off with getting rid of those kinds of calories. Stop eating, like when my kids were little, I would eat their scraps. So I would eat my food and then I would feel guilty that they didn't finish it. So I'd take a bite of this or take a bite of that. Well, I could have been, consuming 200 extra calories that weren't on my plate. When you consume like 300, 400 calories a day more than you're used to, and you do that over the course of 6 months to a year, that's how you gain 5 pounds. That's how you gain 10 pounds. So, you really have to think. Let me see, I wrote down a few other ideas, and I talked about this in the video, eating slower. I need to personally work on that. So as we're getting into this whole concept of like paying attention to what we're eating and not necessarily dieting, but just making better choices, I really do suggest you journal. I'm not suggesting you journal for like the rest of your life because that's ridiculous and crazy. And I don't want anyone to get obsessed. But when you journal what you eat, you start to look back and go, oh my gosh, like at breakfast, because I had that sweetened drink and I ate 700 calories. I didn't really realize that. Or, oh my gosh, by eating those snacks or by stopping at the fast food restaurant. I mean, fast food is crazy, you guys. Fast food and chain restaurants are crazy for the amount of calories. If you Panera Bread, there was a study that their sandwiches were like over 1,500 calories, and the majority of the calories were coming from their breads. It was absolutely nuts. And they actually took a lot of flack for it and have changed some of their calorie counts. But I mean, when you're eating a 1,500 calorie sandwich, it does not leave much room for the rest of your day. Or if you let people put salad dressing on your salad for you and they put 400 calories of salad dressing on there, you're sunk. But if you add it yourself and you only add 100, a lot better. So there's so many little tricks and things that you can do to control, because like I said, you're in control of what you put in your mouth. And you are the person who makes that choice. And I always like to say, when you go to a restaurant, have it your way. When I go out to dinner with people, a lot of times they'll say, how did you get those veggies on your plate? And I'll say, I asked for them. Instead of potatoes, I asked for veggies. You're like, oh my God, what a good idea. Or why isn't your salmon fried? Because I asked them not to fry it. I asked them if they could grill it for me, and they said yes. Or why did you have this or that? Because you have to ask for it your way. I want my salad dressing on the side. And my husband does go crazy. But when someone brings me a salad and the salad dressing's on the salad, I send it back. Because I asked for it. I said, I'm sorry, I asked for the salad dressing on the side. I'll wait, but I don't want it. So you have to really be your own advocate. Okay, let's see. So those are some of the things I wanted to hit about quantity of food. I mean, this is probably the easiest thing we can control is the quantity. And if we eat slower and we eat a better mix of our macronutrients, fats, proteins, and carbs, we should stay fairly satiated and not be quite as hungry. Eating too many empty carbs makes you super hungry. So I am not anti-carb. Next week, I'm going to talk about how my diet is 50% carbs, but the right carbs. Two of the things that make us eat more food than we need to is the visibility of it and the convenience of it. So if we see a lot of food, like buffets are like crazy for overeating because we see so much food. It's like, oh my gosh. And then of course, convenience. When things are convenient, like, oh, I'm in such a hurry, I'll just go through the drive-through and I'll just pick up a value meal, and those will get to you. So also in lesson 2, you guys, Brian Wansink, he is this guy, he wrote this book called Mindless Eating. I actually worked with him one-on-one when I worked for Prevention Magazine at Rodale Publishing. His book, he's written many books now, but Mindless Eating, it could have been up on the New York bestseller list, but this was like over a decade ago. But he talks about how he's a Cornell University professor, and I do believe he still is. But he talks about how making small little changes in our environment can keep us from overeating. It's so good. Now, I attached 2 of his videos as bonus videos in lesson 2, so please watch them. He talks about overeating 200 more calories a day for a year. So every day you're overeating 200 calories, 18 pounds a year. Now, don't look at that from the depressing side. Look at it from the positive side, that if you're aware, if you're smart, and you're like, oh, I'm going to skip that creamer in my coffee, I'm going to skip that Coke that I have every day. Now you're down 200 calories. See, sometimes it's easier than you think. Lynn, when you asked about artificial sweeteners for foods and drinks, so moderation is the key. Certain artificial sweeteners, for me personally, I don't like aspartame. I feel like it gives me a headache, and I just don't like the news surrounding it. So I'm not a big aspartame person. Sucralose is that sweetener called Splenda. I had to think about that. I'm also not a huge fan of Splenda, but I do use Truvia. I use stevia. And so I like those, and, supposedly they are better for you in your body, but I think all things in moderation. And like I told you earlier, there was a study about people who drink Diet Coke gain more weight than people who don't. So Diet Pop is not necessarily the answer. And of course, there's caramel color in Diet Pop and sodium benzoate and all that stuff. So it would be best that you skip it. Now, can you have a Diet Coke every so often? Absolutely, because I'm telling you right now, I am from the belief system that when you absolutely tell yourself you can never have something again, you are going to go loony. or you will go off the deep end at some point. And since we are ditching the diet mentality and getting into just understanding food and eating more real food and controlling our quantity and our quality and just being in charge of ourselves and not being on a diet, those things are going to come into play. So check out Brian's book, Mindless Eating. It's super interesting. Watch the 2 videos I gave you, but it is really, really interesting. One of the things that hit me was they were at a buffet where they were cleaning people's plates off after they ate really quickly. And those people were overeating because they didn't see what they had already eaten. They didn't see their empty chicken wings or whatever it was. And so they ate like 14 to 20% more than the other people did, because visibility of food is a big reason why we overeat. So that's lesson 2. Something I really wanted to hit was I did give you guys a daily food log to just check out. There is an app called MyFitnessPal. Some of you use it. I know you do because you talk about it in this group. It's a great app to use if you just want to track your food. It also tracks your macros, and we're going to be talking about macros next week. I gave you some common food calorie information. So all that stuff is there. Now, people ask me this all the time. How many calories am I supposed to eat a day? We are going to get a little more into detail with that next week when we hit macros. But here's the thing. Everybody is different and everybody metabolizes food differently. And I wanted to hit that because I did say that in lesson 1 about how, let me see, was it lesson 1 or lesson 2? It was lesson 2, how you metabolize food. So, and how your metabolism burns calories. So here's the thing, you guys, there are 3 ways to burn calories in your body. The number 1 way that you burn calories is your RMR, your resting metabolism. You're also known as your BMR, your basal metabolic rate. That is what your body burns on a daily basis to stay alive. It's just your basic metabolism. So as we get into talking about having more muscle on your body, because muscle is a more metabolic tissue than body fat, your body will use more calories if you have more muscle. We're going to talk about that. Some people genetically burn a few more calories, and some people, do more activity, and we're going to talk about activity calories. But the bottom line is 60 to 80% of the calories you burn every day is just based on your basal metabolic rate. So you want to eat healthy foods. You don't want to interrupt your metabolism with additives and, chemicals and things that can help you make you go wonky. You do not, you do want to have more muscle on your body. So that's your 60 to 80% of the calories you burn every day. Then you got your physical activity. So if you go work out and you look on your Apple Watch and you burn 400 or 500 calories, whatever, yay you, those are your physical activity calories. And then there is thermogenesis, but that is so crazy. Like you barely burn any calories from thermogenesis. So if you've ever heard eating celery helps you burn calories, that is so far from the truth. I mean, you might burn an extra calorie, which is not going to be the big deal. Or the thermic effect of food in your body, that is not really that big of a deal. So it's about your resting metabolism or your basal metabolism that your body, need the food that you use and the calories you use to stay alive, and then your physical activity. So those are your 2 ways that you're burning calories. And there are ways to improve your metabolism. We're going to get into that, but it's picking foods that are good for your body and don't disrupt or interrupt your hormones. It's putting more muscle on your body. It's getting more cardiovascular activity because there is an afterburn to that. And we're going to get into all that stuff. Okay. Are there a bunch of questions as we, Linda, you are see, the first step is admitting it, Linda, a Diet Coke addict. All right. And so you don't have to give it up. Start with baby steps. If you go cold turkey, that might be really hard. So maybe you drop down to 1 a day. I don't know how many you're having. And then maybe, you slowly but surely get rid of it. Okay. So check those things out. I know why I was saying that. I did give you a daily calculator. So if you go into the links, there's a link to the daily calculator daily caloric need calculator on the American Council on Exercise, and it does a pretty good job. As a matter of fact, right before I came on tonight, I went on to it and I put my own stats in there. I put my weight, my height, my age, and it told me I should eat about 1,900 calories a day. And I probably, it's going to give or take, and I probably eat about 2,000 a day on a normal day. And so it was pretty spot on. So you could try out that calorie calculator if that would help you. Okay. And the mindless eating stuff, if you guys have some extra reading time, I'm telling you that book is an eye-opener. All right, let's get into lesson 3. Any questions, you guys? You guys must be listening, huh? All right, quality of food. So we just talked about quantity and talked about ideas on ways, and that one's pretty obvious to us. Like, duh, we're eating too much. We eat too much in America, and those are things that we need to control. And part of it is that hunger scale. So if you're controlling your hunger, so if you're not waiting till you're a 0 and you're not eating till you're a 10, but you're in, you start eating at 3 or 4, you stop at 6 or 7, that is going to help you with that 80-20 rule, more moderate. And then you'll start to eat less. I mean, it's pretty stinking amazing. For me, myself, I eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then I usually have a snack. I don't usually have a morning snack. Sometimes in the afternoon I do, but a lot of times I'm so busy with my team and we're working that after lunch, I come home from work and then I will make dinner. I'll have dinner. I'll have like a little snack after dinner, and then I stop eating at like tonight, probably 7:30 for me tonight, and I won't eat again until tomorrow morning. So also how you time your food will make a difference. But let's talk quality. All right, so this Q is the queen, everybody. We need to eat more real food. I love Michael Pollan's food rules. He is an interesting guy. He's all over PBS. He's written Food Rules in Defense of Food. He has a bunch of books. His newest book, Cooked, Cooked, is a very interesting book. It talks about the more we cook at home, the less overweight people are. And he talks about like in other countries where they cook at home all the time, people tend to take in less calories when you cook at home. It's very interesting because eating out is a lot of times the hardest thing for us. But the most important thing you do, like I already said, is eat. That's the biggest health decision you make every day. So Michael Pollan's food rules are: eat real food, mostly plants, not too much. I'll say it again. Eat real food, mostly plants, not too much. Now, I am not a vegetarian at all. I eat meat. I'm not a big red meat eater because I'm not. I mean, I'll eat it. Like I said earlier, my husband and I often will like split a steak, and my boys are carnivores. They love it. But I'm a turkey, chicken, fish. I do like pork. So I do eat animal products. Some people are vegetarians, and that's totally fine. My daughter's a vegetarian, and you can absolutely positively get enough protein in your diet. Or if you're a vegan, that you do no animal product. But eat real food and mostly plants. So I said earlier, I eat tons of fruits and tons of veggies and legumes and lentils and nuts and seeds. And these are all plant-based foods that the majority of my diet is plant-based foods, but I do, occasionally have an animal product in terms of meat or dairy or whatever, and I don't feel guilty about it. I like it. Now, if somebody doesn't like it, that's okay too. Or if you're allergic to it, that's fine too. But clean eating is just eating more real food, just getting back to, buying food at the grocery store and cooking it and preparing it. And meal prepping. And we'll do a whole section on meal prepping because the more organized you can become, the better it is. So I talk about a heavy diet, getting more fruits and vegetables in your diet. And truly, that's why I'm going to talk about it next week, that my diet is like 50% carbs because fruits and vegetables are carbs. And I eat, I was joking, I don't know which live video I was on, but I said I'm like a zoo animal because my husband is always like, really? You're going to eat all those vegetables? I'm like, yes, I am. I love it. It makes me feel full. I roast vegetables. I steam vegetables. I eat them raw. I do a lot with vegetables and I add them to our meals all the time. But it is really a lifestyle. It's really getting into realizing where you get your food from. Do you eat most of your meals out? Do you do a lot of fast food? Do you do a lot of frozen meals where you aren't actually cooking the food yourself? That's going to be where you get more chemicals, more preservatives, more food coloring, more additives, more things that interrupt your hormones and also cause issues in your body. And again, I said earlier, there are people I've worked with who have lost weight by cutting out liquid calories. There's so many people I've worked with who have changed their cholesterol, their triglycerides, their blood pressure, their blood sugar, literally in the course of a couple months by changing their eating habits. One of which is my husband. He will go to the doctor and the doctor will say you have high cholesterol. When he goes on, as I was saying, during hockey season right now, we have our weekend meals aren't as good as they are when it's not hockey season because we're eating at a lot of, crappy college restaurants. And the minute he changes his food and the way he eats, his cholesterol goes down. But I have helped client after client get control of their blood sugar, get control of their triglycerides and their cholesterol and their blood and all of that, because of eating more plant-based foods, cooking more food on their own, being in control of how it was prepared, and it makes such a huge difference. So I hope it's making your wheels spin a little bit. It is a lifestyle. It takes time. You know, a lot of people say to me, well, are you kidding me? I don't have time to cook. And I know that feeling because when my 3 kids were at home and they were little and my boys were big eaters and I'm feeding a family for 5 and I'm working, I used to travel so much for work and I would just, my head would spin, but it was like I did as much as I could to cook at home and do meal prep on the weekends. So I would have big batches of stuff pre-made so I could make tacos, so I could make burritos, so I could pre-make a lasagna, so I could have pre-made chicken, all that kind of stuff so that I was ready to go. And that makes a difference. I always like to say, since I already talked about saying no more diet mentality, I like to say take those 4 letters, D-I-E-T. I talked about this in the video, and rearrange them to say E-D-I-T. Edit your food choices. So I talked a lot about additives in lesson 3. And if you look at the bonus stuff in lesson 3, there were a bunch of guides, really, like at top 10 food additives to avoid, the dirty dozen and the clean 15. So you know which vegetables you should really buy organic and which ones you don't necessarily need to spend the money on. Sneaky names for MSG. So you guys, MSG is a food, a flavor enhancer. That's what it is. But they stick it in everything because it makes food taste really good. But it also creates a lot of issues for a lot of women in particular going through menopause with disrupting your hormones. So you want to avoid MSG as best as you can. Interestingly enough, my mom gets major, there's 3 people in my family get debilitating migraine headaches, and I am just thankfully not one of them. But my mother, any MSG, if it's hidden, and you know, she always asks if anything's been added to MSG, but when she eats MSG, she is down for like a day. Now everybody's body reacts differently, but we talked a lot about in module 3 about and the top 10 additives to avoid as many artificial sweeteners and flavors and colors as you can. And a lot of these things are disguised on labels. So when you pick up a label, it doesn't necessarily say red dye number 5. Instead, it might say E123, and your eyes just kind of breeze over it because you don't know what it is. When my kids were little and we used to get a lot of breakfast cereal because they loved breakfast cereal, I would look on every breakfast cereal and there was always yellow food dye in every breakfast cereal. I always found it so interesting. Why yellow? But it was in everything. And sometimes it didn't say yellow food dye. Sometimes it said E110 or 102. I gave you all of these little handouts that tell you these surnames for chemicals and additives. But I made a deal with my kids. I was trying to explain to them that yellow food dye was just not good for them. And like I said earlier, you know, behavior issues in kids can often be from additives and things. And so we bargained, and we finally found a cereal back in the day that didn't have colors in them that they actually liked because they really liked, you know, some of the sugary cereals. And guess what? I did buy them from time to time because, like I said, we're going with the 80-20 way of eating and thinking. But anyway, I wanted to hit that. So look at these lists I gave you about surnames for food dyes and things about like nitrates and like, for instance, potassium bromate. That used to be in all bread. Now, the things, food companies are really, though, a lot of them are upping their game. They know that the citizen is getting smarter. We're looking at food labels. We're trying to avoid certain things. So, for instance, when you buy a really good whole grain bread, there's not going to be any potassium bromate in it. But if you buy like a white, mushy bread, there probably is potassium bromate in it. So what I'm trying to do is the more chemicals you can get out of your body, the better you're going to feel. Because when we start talking about estrogen and when we start talking about insulin, because estrogen and insulin are the 2 fat storing hormones, really, you want to avoid all of these additives that trigger some of the problems in your body. I put a bunch of documentaries in here. Now, I don't know how you guys feel about it, or if you have time. I listed in number 3, Food Matters, Hungry for Change, and GMO OMG. I've watched all 3 of them many times. Food Matters just really talks about how food reacts in our body. And I think it's absolutely fascinating. They show depression patients and people who have a lot of issues and how they can change their health through vitamin C and vitamin D and vitamin B. And it's just mind blowing if you ask me. And how we are so much more ready to take a supplement that our doctor tells us to take, even if you don't even know what it is and your doctor says, here, take this, you go, okay, I'll take it. But when someone says, oh my gosh, that's a lot of vitamin C, should I eat all that vitamin C? It's like, vitamin C is water soluble. You pee it out, nothing's gonna happen to you. Large doses of vitamin C are actually really good for you. So we have this thing in America where we don't often trust the real food. So I loved Food Matters. I highly suggest starting with that. Then Hungry for Change is the one that comes after that. Again, really thought-provoking, just about how fast food and convenience foods can bring us down and how we need to start at least adding more plants into our system. And then GMO OMG is all about genetically modified organisms. And really that starts to be a social issue, whether you want to eat genetically modified foods or not. I just try to avoid GMOs because if there are no GMOs, it's typically organic. And it's also like when people say, do you have to eat organic? I'm like, no, you don't have to, but you're going to avoid as many pesticides and herbicides and things as you can if you pick some of the organic brands. And you're going to support farmers that are trying to do the right thing. So it becomes a little bit of a social justice issue too, and it's up to you. But I do prefer, and I'm telling you, stores like Costco and Target and Trader Joe's have non-GMO foods. You just have to look at the label. So I really encourage you guys to start picking up labels and looking at the ingredients and deciding, do I know what these ingredients are? The less ingredients, the better. I used to always buy Haagen-Dazs ice cream. And people would ask me, why do you buy Haagen-Dazs? Oh my God, that's so many calories. But I would look on the side of it, it said milk, cream, and eggs, I think, or whatever it said on the side, butter and vanilla. And I'd be like, hey, I know what all four of those things are. Those are real ingredients. It didn't have any weird chemicals, no numbers, no symbols. It just was straight up ingredients. I'm like, if I'm going to buy ice cream, I'm going to buy the real thing. So I hope this helps you a little bit. Any questions? Let me read your questions. I keep turning my head because I'm looking at my dog to make sure she's not doing anything naughty. Okay, Linda, you get migraines from MSG too. Okay, if I can't get the dirty dozen foods as organic, should I not eat them? Karen, that is a decision that you have to make. Strawberries are supposedly like the dirtiest food out there. And so I'm pretty careful with strawberries. But the other thing I do is I wash my fruit. And I will come home from the grocery store and wash it all at once. Because if I have to wash it every time I'm eating it, every time I'm going to eat a few blueberries, I have to wash them. It just becomes a chore. So it's a decision you have to make. Try as best as you can to do the organics. Of course, there's a lot of, if you look at the Clean 15, like things like bananas, not necessarily anything that has a big hard skin or a big outer shell won't get as many pesticides soaked in. Jill, so you don't take any supplements. I do, Jill. I will talk about that in upcoming modules, but I only take, like for instance, I take vitamin D because in Minnesota, 23 below, guess what? My skin has not seen the sun to soak up real vitamin D. They say like 10 minutes a day is what you need, but that's been 6 months since I've done that. And so I do take vitamin D. I do take fish oil. I eat way more fish in the summer than I am right now. I do take B12 for energy, like especially before a workout. And I do take, I'm trying to think of it else. Sometimes I take magnesium if I'm getting a lot of cramps in my muscles or in my feet, because my feet get really stiff. I mean, I'm just sharing all kinds of personal stuff, but I'm not and I take collagen, which I've talked about with you guys before. All right. So that's kind of what I wanted you to take a look at. Check out all of these additives and things, are all of these extra bonuses in number 3. I realize this is time consuming, you guys, but like I said in the beginning of this video tonight, what you don't know can hurt you. It has always been proven that those who want to be educated know more and they do better. The more you know, the better you do. When you understand, even in politics, we are also mad at our politicians. And sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, the media especially says things that are so uneducated and takes people off in left field. So if we could all just understand food a little better, I promise you, you will be motivated to make better choices. And like I said, we're not dieting anymore. If we eat with our hunger scale, we think about that intuitive eating, we start controlling the quality and the quantity for the next week. I want you guys, every time you eat, to think quantity and quality, the 2 Qs. Am I eating the right amount of food? What's the portion I'm serving myself? And is this of better quality? And if 80% of the food that you put in your mouth throughout the week is of high quality and you have 20% wiggle room to enjoy yourself and do whatever you do with friends or family, you will go in the right direction. Okay, let's see. Thinking about investing in a juicer, but conflicted about removing the fiber benefit. Mary Jo, we have a whole segment coming up in one of the next 2 modules about juicing versus blending. I'll talk about it. They're both really good. Yeah, I tend to do more smoothies because I like the fiber piece of it, but I do have a juicer, and especially when my kids were younger and I felt like everyone was getting sick, I would just juice like crazy just to flood our body with nutrients. So it depends. She finally is back eating her bone. Thank goodness. All right. Does washing berries in a vinegar solution make a difference? Karen asks. They say that vinegar can clean. I buy the stuff called Rebel Green, R-E-B-E-L Green. You can get it at most grocery stores. It's an all-natural fruit wash. They're based out of Wisconsin. They're like a little homegrown business, but it's just a spray, and I spray my fruit with it, and then I rinse it. So I would think that vinegar, I honestly don't know the answer, like, is vinegar okay? But vinegar does clean your hardwood floors. It cleans your countertops. You know, a lot of homeopaths will tell you get away from all these chemical sprays and just use vinegar. And, you know, there's something to be said about that, trying to really remove toxins in our lives. I'm trying to do that right now. Okay, let's get into lesson 4. That's where I really hit the 80-20 rule. So for those of you who had been talking about that, 80% of the time you're leading towards a healthier choice, where 20% of the time you are allowing yourself for wiggle room. You have to completely get rid of the all or nothing automatic negative thinking, where I had a piece of pizza, so screw it, I'm having the whole pizza. Or, you know, I ate a candy bar, screw it, I'm just going to eat 2 more. That kind of mentality. And I know that there are people like that because I've worked with them, and I've talked with all of you who have those issues. I'll never forget this gal who told me, like, listen, I go to the grocery store, I get 3 candy bars and I eat them all on my way home. And it's like, I'm just punishing myself because I'm so mad at myself that I eat them all. And we had to really work through mindset first, and then like this whole thing about intuitive eating and being kind to your body and not dieting anymore and not giving yourself guilt trips for eating certain foods, and really having a goal of eating more real food, mostly plants, not too much, and kind of having fun with that over the course of the next few weeks. Like, what on my plate is real food? How can I meal prep more? How can I make better choices? Americans for sure do not eat enough vegetables. I don't know about you guys, but you're supposed to have 5 servings of vegetables a day. Now, I work hard to do that because I think that's a lot. And so I know most of us are not getting that, and that's where a lot of nutrients are. So we will talk more about that. I do love the fact that Weight Watchers has made a change. I think they're probably the most sound diet program. If you are going to join anything like that, that by far is the most sound. But it really drove me nuts that a couple years ago, they would give you portions for your veggies, like only eat a half cup of broccoli. And I'm like, okay. It does not matter if you eat a full cup of broccoli. Give me a break. Nobody gained weight because they ate a cup of broccoli. That is not the issue. Knock yourself out and eat 2 cups if you want to. And they finally changed their whole thing where all fruits and vegetables are now free. They're not points. They're free. Because we need to, as a society, start eating more plant-based foods and not feel guilty about them. So when I make a smoothie and I put my frozen fruit in there and some greens and like a scoop of protein powder, some chia seeds, some, you know, nuts or whatever, blend it up. It's full of the right healthy fats and healthy carbs and healthy protein. I feel satiated. It might be about 300 to 400 calories. That's my breakfast. Boom. I feel great. I mean, we want to get into that kind of thinking where it's like fun. It's fun to figure out what your meals are. And it's not dieting. That's the thing. It's like, you don't have to make something for your family and then give yourself this 300 calorie frozen meal. Like, forget it. Plus that's full of chemicals. Enjoy like steamed broccoli or roasted Vegetables. I eat a sweet potato every single day of my life. I roast them, I chop them, I mash them, I make them all the time, and I get creative with how I use them. And my husband loves them. We eat white potatoes too. I mean, not as often because since I do most of the cooking, I just love sweet potatoes, but we definitely make, potato, like I call them potato skins, but they're just basically potato wedges that I roast myself, and they're delicious. So let's look at food as enjoyment. Let's start thinking in terms of these things that we've just talked about intuitive eating. Go back to it. Start making peace with food. Stop, associating food with wins and losses. Start grabbing that whole concept of hunger scale. And when people say to me, I always joke about this. When someone says to me, oh my gosh, I forgot to eat today, I'm so hungry. I look at them like, what? You forgot to eat? Like, I've never in my life forgotten to eat. Like, I never forget to eat. Hunger hits me when I get up in the morning because I've already been not eating for 12 hours and I'm ready for something to eat. Then I'm ready at lunch. I'm ready at dinner with healthy choices. So think about these things. Try to work with that hunger scale. I want you to look at these extra things I gave you in lesson. First of all, I love that video about hunger scale. So you've got to watch Eve's video. But all the little extra added things I gave you in lesson 3 about the hidden names of MSG and food coloring and flavorings and all that stuff, because you want to start looking at your labels and saying, okay, do I really want to eat that? It has 10 things I don't know. Don't eat it. There's so many good organic packaged foods out there. And Target now has their whole Simply Balanced line. And there are Cascadian Farms. I mean, I can think of all of these really good organic brands that are in the frozen foods and the packaged foods. Try to eat less of that stuff if you can, but make the better choices and look for ingredient labels that make sense to you. Read the mindless eating, or at least look at Brian's videos. I just put 2 really short ones in there because, like I said, I worked with him personally. We actually shared a column in Prevention Magazine for a while. And he just used to crack me up because he is a professor, and he backs everything up with science. And there's so much science behind the fact that our eyes eat for us, that we eat with our eyes. And it's just crazy. Start editing what you eat. Don't diet, edit what you eat. Start to think about, the quality of food, which is all about lesson 3. Watch some of those documentaries, if you will, and then comment in this group and tell me what you think of them. I literally, I've watched them all like 3 times. I take notes. Like, I'm a geek. I'll take notes each time I watch them. Like, oh, I got to remember that. That's so powerful. I've made my kids watch them too. And then we talk about the 80-20 rule and just really working towards that whole concept of 80% of the time making healthful choices. And so our very last, I know we're out of time, you guys, our very last lesson is emotional eating, lesson 5. So obviously, and tell me this, you guys, a lot of us eat because of emotions. We eat not because of hunger, but we eat because of emotions. We're bored, we're stressed, we're in a hurry. We see food with our eyes and all of a sudden we think we're hungry. So really try to separate food from your emotions. Reward your emotions or deal with your emotions in a different way. Easier said than done. Believe me, I know that. But emotional eating is above the neck, as they say. So it's like you let your head get in your way and you just start eating. And you have to kind of like maybe a walk or listening to a podcast or doing a meditation would help you from overeating in those situations. You want to, and in lesson 5, we talked about stop, like answer some of these questions about why you're doing it. Roxy, we almost made it, Roxy. Breathe deep, breathe deep, and then do your best to redirect your behavior. Roxy, come here. What's she barking at? Hold on, everybody. What are you doing? Where are you, girl? Where are you? Oh, she's outside. She sees something outside. Come here, Roxy. Come here. Sorry, you guys. Okay, we're almost there. We're almost there. So don't buy trigger foods. Don't bring your trigger foods into your house. Like if there is a trigger food where you go, if I bring this in the house, I overeat it. Like I'll use an example, a granola. I make my own granola. Actually, I have a girlfriend who makes granola for me all the time, and I have the best recipe in the world. If you want it, let me know. But when I buy store-bought granola, like I could sit there, pour milk over it, and eat the whole thing. So I just don't buy it because I will eat it. There was one more TEDx that I put in by Michelle May, and it really goes well with this whole emotional eating segment. Roxy, you silly girl, get over here. And she talks about the mindful eating circle. So you want to first think about why you eat, when you eat, what you eat, how much you eat, and where you eat. That is powerful. Answer all of those questions. Why you're eating, what you're eating, when you're eating, how much you're eating, and then where are you when you're eating? Because sometimes that affects what's happening to you too. Are you eating in your car? Are you eating at your desk and just being mindless? These things all interweave together, but it's super interesting. So think about those things too. Next week, you guys, we are, okay, Jill wants the granola recipe. Okay, I will look up this granola recipe. It's from my friend Jana. It's all homemade. It's super easy. And I will look it up and give it to you guys because you can adjust the sugar and the content, the contents in there. Okay, next week we are heavy getting into macros and micros. We're going to talk about sugar, what sugar does in your body, and why natural sugar, fruit, is absolutely okay. You guys, do not be afraid of fruit. Fruit is not why people gain weight. Nobody I know, I have never had, in the thousands of people I've worked with, nobody has ever come to me and said, oh my God, all those apples I'm eating have just made me gain 10 pounds. I've never heard that in my life. And you never will. Natural sugar is combined with fiber. It's good for you. It does not do the harm to you. Fruits and vegetables are plant-based. Remember, eat real food, mostly plants, not too much, is our motto. And then we put that into the 80-20 rule, realizing that we're human, that we live in America, that we're going to buy packaged foods. We're going to get into meal prep, though. I really want to start getting you guys in the right direction on meal prep eventually. So we'll talk about sugar next time. We're going to get deep into macros and micros. So macronutrients are your carbs, proteins, and fats. Micronutrients are your vitamins and minerals. If you eat a good mix of your macros, you are going to get a good mix of your micros. So when you say, am I taking a vitamin? I eat a lot of variety in my macros. So I feel like I'm getting a really good vitamin profile. However, I take a lot of vitamin C during the winter because of immunity. It's great for immunity, and you pee it out, so it doesn't matter. I take B12 because it's great for energy. Even B complex is good. And again, you pee it out. It's cheap. It gives you energy. I take vitamin D because I haven't seen the sun in 6 months. And that's, you need that, especially if you live in the Midwest or anywhere where it's cold and snowy. But some of you might need a calcium supplement if you have osteoporosis in your family, or, we're going to get into all those things. We're going to talk about fiber. We're going to talk all about that next week. So this week, your whole thing was to work on intuitive eating, trying to figure out your emotional eating, really working on the hunger scale, really being aware of what, when, why you eat, looking at labels and getting rid of, and we'll get a little deeper into labels, but getting rid of all the additives and the artificial colors and artificial sweeteners and all those things that disrupt your hormones. And then just stepping back from the diet mentality and starting to enjoy food for what it is and actually get excited about eating, get excited about good food. All right. Anything else, you guys? Because I'm running over the time frame. All right. Everyone wants my granola recipe. It's so good. And it's not mine. I'm taking credit. It's my friend Jana's. I'm going to, as soon as we get off here, I'm going to stick it in this group because otherwise I'll forget. I am traveling for the weekend. I am going to be gone again. So I enjoy connecting with you guys. Please be active in this group. If you are a silent person who likes to just kind of read everybody else's stuff, then you're welcome here. And I hope this is helping you and I love it. But if you have things to say, please share, because community is a big factor in weight loss and health journeys. People do well with support. And as a matter of fact, I think we talked about this mindset. We did oxytocin, the stress hormone, that's the good hormone. It's the hugging hormone. It's also released in your body when you feel support from community. So let's release some oxytocin, people, and let's help each other out and share some stuff, because that really makes a difference. All right, you guys, I love talking with you. Roxy did pretty good, but she's standing at the window out there. She wants to go outside. You know what she does? So she eats, we have a ton of hockey pucks over here because we're a hockey family, and she literally is bit 3 of them over there. I'm mad at her. Anyway, all right, I made it through. All right, you guys, have a great night. Any questions you have, you just come back in here and ask. The granola recipe will be up in about 10 minutes. And finish module 3 up if you can. Get ready for module 4. It is big information. I'm super excited. And by the way, in this group, sorry, I'm hanging up, I promise, but in this group, talk about, are you feeling any better? One of you said that you had gone the whole week without eating fast food, and that was a huge feat for you, and I'm really proud of you. And I asked if you felt any better, and you said, well, I'm not really noticing anything yet. And that's honest. I mean, you might not notice huge aha moments, but most people after eating a little cleaner for a couple weeks start to notice they feel better. And one of the things for women, if you feel like you've got like a little belly bloat, it will go away if you get rid of additives, food coloring, artificial sweeteners, artificial sugars, artificial flavors, all that stuff, or limit it. It's going to make a huge difference. All right. Talk to you guys later. Have a great night. And I will talk to you next week. Next week, you'll get an email from me on Sunday telling you what time the office hour. I believe we're doing it again Thursday night. But then after that, I'm going to try to do a little bit during the day. Okay, you guys, you're fabulous. Have a great night, and I will talk to you later. Bye.